Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning. I'm Bree Langemo. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative. And I'm happy to be with you this morning to share our Ice House Student Success Program. If you have any questions as we're moving along, they're on the webinar panel. You should be able to submit questions, and I'll get to those. I'll leave some time at the end of the webinar to address any questions you have. And then also, I will be in person at your campus on April 15th, I believe from 1 to 2:30, and Dr. Lambert will be sending some information about the location, and so I hope that you'll join me in person as well. So just a little bit about myself. I spent over a decade in higher education at Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio, and Pikes Peak Community College in Colorado Springs. I've worked on a number of student success initiatives, from being a campus lead for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation Completion by Design grant. I helped implement the Developmental Education Initiative for the Lumina Foundation. I've led a lot of task forces relating to redesigning advising, implementing academic planning, using electronic software to implement academic planning, mandating orientation. And so just have worked on a large number of student success initiatives, and student success really is an absolute passion of mine. And I did learn during my decade in higher education that it's very difficult to significantly move the needle on student success. And I believe the biggest challenge is how we engage the individual student in their education and their lives. And student engagement, to me, really is the key to student success. So while I was at Pikes Peak Community College, I was the Dean of Business, Public Service, and Social Sciences there, learned about the Ice House program at the Kauffman Foundation, brought my business and economics faculty with me, fully expecting that we would implement Ice House within the business division. And after learning about the program, we really believed it was a program that all students should go through to engage them and help them take ownership of their academic journey. And so in fall 2014, we rolled out a required student success course. We kept our traditional student success course and implemented Ice House to do a comparative data study. And the traditional student success course focused on, note-taking skills, time management, financial planning, study skills, and what you typically see in student success courses. And what our hope was with Ice House is that if we focused on the mindset of the student and could inspire and engage them in their academic journey, that perhaps they would persist. So some of our goals, probably not unlike your own goals with going through this process of implementing a required student success course, was to engage students, to see them persist semester to semester and fall to fall, to see them complete, to produce employable graduates. And so what we saw at Pikes Peak Community College, some of the early results were that in the fall to spring semester, we saw a 28% impact on student persistence with the Ice House students compared to those who had not taken Ice House. And on the scale of student success initiatives, for us, that was incredible. In fact, we went back to our IR office and said, please check the data. You must mean 2.8%, but it was 28%. Those students, and it was developmental education students who were required to take the student success course, which, like a lot of community colleges, was about 65% of our new student population. And with a 23,000 student campus, it was a significant number. About 2,500 students have now gone through Ice House at Pikes Peak Community College. But of those Ice House students, there was a 14% impact on college level success rates. So they went on to be successful in college level courses, which of course for us was the measure of success of Dev Ed and having a student success course. We want them to continue on and be successful. We also saw between Ice House and the more traditional student success course a 7% impact on student drop rates in the beginning weeks. So as we all know, day one, week one, semester one are absolutely critical to student persistence. So these were some early data results that were hugely impactful for our student completion efforts at Pikes Peak Community College. And last February, the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative asked me to come on board and lead the higher education strategy for the United States and Canada. And so I've had the great pleasure of working with a large number of institutions to implement Ice House as a student success course. And I'm just really happy to be with Hillsborough Community College today. So wanted to share a little bit of my story of how I ended up at Eli and my background in student success. So I'm going to share a little bit more data later on in the presentation. Just a little bit about the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative. We're a global thought leader dedicated to expanding human potential through entrepreneurial mindset education. And we serve academic institutions, government agencies, nonprofit, community organizations around the world to empower their constituents with an entrepreneurial mindset through professional development training, facilitator certification, and curriculum content. And we are the creators of the Ice House Student Success Program. So we work with high schools, dual credit students, community colleges, universities. We work with international universities like Tec de Monterrey and Prepatec in Mexico. They are rolling out to 10,000 high school students in spring 17. So that's a fairly large initiative for us. Work with UCLA and West Virginia University and quite a few community colleges as well. So what my agenda or my objectives for today, I want to share a little bit about our philosophy, the challenge that we see, the solution that we're trying to provide. I want to give you an overview of the program and then share some use cases and data. And if we have enough time before we get to Q&A, I would like to run you through one of our lessons on the power of vision and creating a vision and goals that lead to an academic plan or life plan for students. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the challenge here. So 87% of employees across the world are not engaged in their work, according to Gallup. And when you break those numbers down, 24% are actively disengaged, meaning that they're working against the mission of the organization. And 63% are not engaged. And there's kind of a small sliver of 13% that are hyper-engaged entrepreneurial people working to solve problems that they care about. This data is hugely significant for us. When you look at it, it really is a colossal waste of human potential. And if you imagine flipping these numbers, we have a vast resource of untapped potential right in front of us. Now, that's the workforce, but we know that the engagement issue starts long before our graduates enter the workforce. From elementary to high school, we see a 35% drop in engagement. And this is what Gallup calls the engagement cliff. And so it's really no wonder that some students arrive at college disengaged. We look at some of the data points. I'm sure that you're familiar with this from CESI. Less than half of community college students will graduate within 6 years, and the United States has fallen from number 1 in college credential completion to number 16. So, when we look at by 2018, 2/3 of jobs will require post-secondary degrees. This, of course, is a significant issue, and universities have the same challenge with only 19% graduating in 4 years. With the higher education funding model shifting from access to college to completion, we really need to do better than the status quo. Of those that do graduate, they tend to lack the 21st century workforce skills that employers want. In fact, 50% of college graduates are unemployed or underemployed, and employers right now are demanding an innovative and entrepreneurial workforce. In fact, 77% of employers report that soft skills such as communication, problem solving, teamwork, and self-motivation are as important as technical skills. And 16% of those say that they're actually more important. And those are really the entrepreneurial skills that are embedded within the Ice House Student Success Program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship as the solution. Sorry, I skipped over a slide there. When you look at this slide, you can see that world policy is really shifting to a focus on entrepreneurship as an essential life skill that every student will need to survive in the 21st century. The Harvard Business Review within the last year had an article about current research indicating the need to invest in and scale entrepreneurship education, as business creation is not the only beneficial outcome. In fact, entrepreneurship is also linked to higher academic achievement, as well as key 21st century workforce skills. And they based that article on a New York University study where over 100,000 students who'd been through entrepreneurial programming reported that those entrepreneurial skills led to academic success in other subject areas. And this is also what we were seeing reported back from Pikes Peak Community College students. I'll share a couple testimonials, but we often hear that what they learn in Ice House is easily applicable and helps them be more successful in other subject areas. And then 95% of the NYU students indicated that entrepreneurial skills would help them in their life. So, thinking of it more as a life skills program. The Chronicle of Higher Education recently had a front page on their journal talking about everyone's an entrepreneur, and that really colleges are turning to entrepreneurship education to produce those work-ready and next-generation innovators. And so I will share the slide deck back with you. I'm also recording the webinar for those of the committee members who couldn't attend today. And I will revisit some of these slides when I'm in person on April 15th. But I do include this slide in here because it was last April, and it's a great article to read about the number of higher education initiatives going on across the United States. The World Economic Forum states that it's not enough to add entrepreneurship on the perimeter. It really needs to be at the core of the way education operates. In order to move to the core of education, we really must first redefine entrepreneurship. And that's Eli's work. Our philosophy is that entrepreneurship is more than an academic discipline and reaches far beyond business creation and small business management. We must offer entrepreneurship education more broadly to empower students to remain adaptable when facing obstacles, persist through failure, communicate better, and become problem solvers and opportunity finders. We can no longer really define it as a business course in which students self-select for the purpose of business creation, because entrepreneurship embodies those 21st century workforce skills that every student's need, and learning about entrepreneurship ignites an entrepreneurial mindset that students then apply to their life. So with that said, how do we move entrepreneurship from the perimeter to the core? And this is really what Pikes Peak Community College did with implementing Ice House as a student success course. And it's the reason that Eli created the Ice House Student Success Program, which is really about applying an entrepreneurial mindset for success in college and in life. I want to share a bit about how the program was created. It was developed by faculty experts in student success. So those that have taught student success courses for a significant amount of time, learning assistants, directors who understand the resources that students need to be successful, academic deans. So I had a great curriculum team that helped develop Ice House Student Success, and it's really heavily based on research and data from the National Resource Center for First Year Experience, from CESI, from the John Gardner Institute, and the Collegiate Employment Research Institute. And the Ice House Student Success Program is a student success course that inspires and engages new students during their first semester in college with the perseverance and determination of an entrepreneurial mindset needed to succeed academically and in life. It encompasses the student success concepts that you typically see in a first-year experience, but it puts it in the context of an entrepreneurial mindset and provides for problem-based and experiential learning beyond the classroom, making connections and building relationships that can support students throughout college and beyond. And the program empowers students to take ownership of their future while helping them develop the attitudes, knowledge, skills, and behaviors that will enable them to succeed in college and in life. So what is Ice House? The companion text to the program is Who Owns the Ice House? 8 Life Lessons from an Unlikely Entrepreneur, written by Clifton Talbert and Gary Schoeniger, who's also the founder of the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative. And the program is based on over a decade of research and hundreds of interviews with entrepreneurs, originally funded by the Cisco Entrepreneur Institute. One of Gary's most compelling interviews was that of Pulitzer nominee Clifton Talbert, who shared his life story and the wisdom that he gained from his Uncle Cleve, a very unlikely entrepreneur in the 1950s Mississippi. So Clifton, in the book, chronicles his journey from his life in the Mississippi Delta at the height of legal segregation and the life-changing influence of his Uncle Cleve, while Gary captures the entrepreneurial life lessons that can empower anyone to succeed. It's a very powerful and compelling story that captures the essence of an entrepreneurial mindset and the unlimited opportunities it can provide. You all have a copy of the book in the mail this week. Hopefully you'll get it by early next week. Provided the course description and a copy of the book for you to read. It's probably the best starting point for understanding the power of the story behind the program as a whole. Uncle Cleve owned an ice house during a time of great adversity where, very successful business. The rest of the family was going out to the cotton fields, and there was something different about Uncle Cleve where he empowered himself through entrepreneurship. And he didn't have any money, power, or privilege in life to do that. He had a fourth grade education, and yet still he found a way to empower himself through an entrepreneurial mindset. And so the story is really about the life lessons that Clifton learned from Uncle Cleve, but understand that that's reinforced by a number of video case studies of the hundreds of entrepreneurs that Gary was seeing. Sort of a theme throughout all of his interviews is that entrepreneurs, despite adversity in their life, have become successful. And there's something that we can learn from entrepreneurs. To give you a feel for the 8 life lessons in the context of student success, lesson 1, probably one of the most important lessons, focused on the power of choice, an internal and external locus control, looking at reacting versus responding, talking about the power of vision, and then reinforcing that through video case studies of entrepreneurs and students, Ice House students who've applied an entrepreneurial mindset to their academics. Lesson 2 is about recognizing opportunity, seeing problems as opportunities, understanding a fixed versus growth mindset or a victim mindset. This is often a very powerful lesson for students as well. Lesson 3, taking ideas to action, focused on barriers that students see or overcoming fear. The power of experimentation and collaboration. The pursuit of knowledge is in lesson 4, kind of fostering a self-directed approach to learning, encouraging students to seek knowledge and think critically and develop problem-solving skills. Resourcefulness is focused on helping students leverage existing resources to find solutions and overcome challenges to advance their goals. And that's a lesson that talks about time, money, and people as a resource, really pushes students to engage in their campus community and the wealth of resources that surround them. Reliability, an entrepreneurial mindset is self-directed and solution-oriented, and reliability is really the key that exposes students to unforeseen opportunities and their own untapped potential. So in essence, doing what you say you're going to do, but when you do that, a lot of opportunities can come your way because you are seen as your brand is that you are reliable. And how entrepreneurs, in order to be successful in the world that they're in, they have to be reliable in order for their business to be successful. Community, the power of creating an intentional community of positive influence, critical guidance, and support. Again, this also taps into sort of the campus resources, but talks a lot about social influence to help students understand kind of what's going on around them and how to focus on surrounding themselves with a positive community. And then persistence, of course, perseverance and determination are really the hallmarks of an entrepreneurial mindset that encourages students to persist in the face of challenges, setbacks and self-doubt. And, for the social and behavioral sciences folks that might be on the call, a lot of Martin Seligman in this lesson. And it's not that we just tell students, hey, these people persisted, you should persist too. It's more about giving them the tools for resiliency and overcoming some of those setbacks to help them understand that sometimes beliefs are formed. If you look at the ABCD model or PERMA, we use a lot of those tools from Martin Seligman in lesson 8. Here's a visual of the video case studies and some of the entrepreneurs, from student entrepreneurs to very mature entrepreneurs. And then also kind of on the bottom row, you can see some of the Ice House students who completed the program and how they share how they applied it to their academics. Very powerful storytelling component, reinforcing the lessons in Ice House. A quick visual on the PDF, which comes as sort of in a textbook format, or feels more like a textbook format for students. The introduction, the lesson objectives listed. This is for lesson 1, so you can see on the right there, it talks about the vision, influence, reacting versus responding, locus of control, and then planning for success and focus as well. And then the video case studies, they're 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Students kind of watch them in snack size bites, probably about 15 minutes of reinforcing video throughout the lessons. Just wanted to put a slide in here of some of the sample resource or sample sources behind the program. Again, I would say, people, when they hear entrepreneurship, they think of a lot of the business and management experts, and really it's more heavily focused on the social and behavioral sciences of Carol Dweck, Martin Seligman, Angela Duckworth, Barry Schwartz, Brené Brown. So these are just some of the resources. There's quite a few more throughout the content. So students first focus on developing an entrepreneurial mindset by going through the 8 life lessons. But the second component, and perhaps even more importantly, is engaging them in the entrepreneurial process. And when we think of that, we often think of, okay, well, we're going to put students into, how are they going to start a business? But that's not how our Ice House Opportunity Discovery Canvas necessarily works. The tool is really about helping students develop those entrepreneurial skills of communication, problem solving, creative critical thinking, collaboration. And so they first work, and you can see on the top part, identifying a problem in groups, working in teams. What problem do you want to solve? We often say, it's not what you want to do when you grow up, what is the problem you want to solve? And so this helps students develop those problem solving skills by working within teams. And it might be that there's a campus problem they're trying to solve, or it might be more of a social entrepreneur approach where they're looking at major community initiatives that they're trying to solve together. And then some students really are interested in starting a business, and so they get a business idea going with a canvas. The second component is finding a solution, and then finally making a connection. And so with making a connection, they're first working in teams to find a problem solution fit. And that requires them to kind of get out of the building and talk to people. And it can be uncomfortable for students, but that's also where they start to develop confidence. They see that ideas don't arrive fully formed, and that it takes several iterations of the canvas to kind of hone in on what is the actual problem. And sometimes problem finding is even more important than problem solving. We're hearing that more and more in the workforce. And so they have to spend some time talking to people about whether they've identified the accurate problem, and then whether the solution is a fit to the problem that they've identified. And then going out and making sure that they're engaging stakeholders or have the buy-in for it to be successful. This canvas works really well even internally in organizations. We do a lot of professional development within organizations like community colleges, where at Central New Mexico Community College, they are training faculty and staff. They've put hundreds through Ice House at this point to help faculty and staff and administrators develop an entrepreneurial mindset, and using this tool to solve some of the major problems that they're trying to solve within their institution. So students, just to give you an idea of the course elements, students first consume content, reading Who Owns the Ice House, but there's also the lesson content I just showed you, the video case studies. They discuss, and we provide you a data bank of discussion questions for each lesson that I often work with higher education to make sure that we're tying directly to the competencies that you want to achieve. And so we'll work together and customize the course, working from the data bank that you have. And then students review, they do multiple choice reviews. That's just for you to understand that you assess their basic knowledge comprehension. They're sharing their experiences from going out and working through the Canvas. There's some presentation component to that at the end of the entrepreneurial process. They're bringing in guest lecturers, local entrepreneurs who share their story. And that's often the biggest bridge from the community college, from the classroom to the community, is through that process. We saw at Pikes Peak Community College, it was hugely significant. Really, the community college ended up being sort of the front door to entrepreneurship within the community. And a lot of community members engaging. I hear it all the time. I'm still living in Colorado Springs, where they say, oh, I've visited several classrooms at Pikes Peak Community College and I've mentored the students. And so it's been a really beautiful bridge between the classroom and the community. And then application assignments, of course, applying the lesson content and immersing students in real world problem-based entrepreneurial experiences through the opportunity discovery process. And probably most importantly is the opportunity for individual reflection. And that is to encourage students to reflect on what they're learning and how it can be applied to academic and life goals. Really critical that students are, writing down and reflecting on what they're learning. And so there's a data bank of reflection assignments as well that comes with the curriculum. Just to reinforce that how students are learning is through problem-based learning. It's Ice House is very much a student-centered classroom where early on students are developing their problem-solving skills and early in the process, engaging them in problem-based peer-to-peer learning, and then the experiential learning component as well, getting them out into the real world. And if any of you are familiar with Edgar Dale's cone of experience, 90% of what people remember is through the experiences and actually applying and doing what they're learning. And then from all that leads to self-directed learning. And really what Ice House is focused on through the delivery of it and also the curriculum itself is we want to move students from being dependent learners where there's an authority figure in the classroom. We want to remove authority, shift them to taking ownership of their learning, moving them towards that self-directed learning so they become independent learners. And when that happens, that's when you start to see student engagement. And when we see student engagement, we see student persistence, which is ultimately the goal of these types of courses. It's an all digital content delivery. We're working right now to set up, I think by early next week, you should have access to a preview shell of the course. Students have access to the Who Owns the Ice House book in there, the lesson content, the video case studies. They're going to be viewing that through, I believe, Canvas is your learning management system. They can complete the course in a full semester, half semester. It can be delivered in the classroom or fully online. We saw at PPCC, because of the quality of the online curriculum, there really wasn't a difference in success rates between the face-to-face and online. That was not true for the comparative course. There was a pretty significant difference in the success rates. And they can be delivered as a 1 credit hour, 3 credit hour. The 1 credit hour is $79 for the student course materials. So students pay the $79. They receive access to the companion text and lesson content, all the lesson assignments and the video case studies. The 3 credit hour is $99 for the student. There's an additional module in there, that practical application component of getting them into the entrepreneurial process, which you really need some time for them to work through that canvas and go through the iterations and then present on how their ideas evolved. The 1 credit hour is more focused on developing the entrepreneurial mindset through the 8 life lessons. So when I'm on campus, if we want to dig a little bit deeper into which program, I think you are leaning towards the 1 credit hour. If I remember correctly, it could be a 3 credit hour. Just to share with you, we have a lot of facilitator materials, of course, a manual with lesson by lesson prep guidelines, a syllabus and course schedule template that we recommend, the quizzes, the discussion, application, reflection, assignments, video case studies. We suggest in-class activities. You want to keep it very student-centered and engaging in the classroom. It's very much a facilitated program. And then for those of you who are assessment gurus, there are rubrics for every type of lesson. and then a wealth of supplemental resources from TED Talks to videos to blogs to books to supplement the classroom. The Genet Outcomes, and this is based on the World Economic Forum's definition of 21st century workforce skills, and really the skills that students will need to approach complex problems, including creative and critical thinking, effective problem solving, communication, collaboration, lifelong learning, as well as the entrepreneurial skills that will help them approach changing environments. And that's the developing curiosity, taking initiative, persistence and grit, adaptability, and leadership. And similar to PPCC's goals, we're really trying to drive student engagement, strengthen student learning, creating those self-directed learners, developing entrepreneurial skills, attitudes, and behaviors, with ultimately the goal of improving student persistence, increasing college course pass rates, completion, and producing employable graduates with those entrepreneurial skills to meet workforce demand. This is a very busy slide, but it's very helpful in the development of your course. What we did is we looked at the top student success competencies nationally through John Gardner and the National Resource Center, and developed a repository of competencies and lesson assessments for each type of kind of common competency. So if creating an academic plan is essential for your course to meet your competencies, there's a lesson assignment on that. If you want them to engage in career exploration and planning, or effective money management strategies, building a support network, using campus resources, engaging in experiential learning, then this is sort of a resource that comes with, and I can work with you as well to look at what assignments would best achieve the competencies of your course and meet the outcomes. And this is a second based on the 21st century workforce skills that we discussed. And each assignment has underneath it the competencies that'll be achieved with that assignment. So you can see here if civic engagement is an important component, we have a wealth of content on that as well, social and cultural awareness, or leadership skills or whatnot. So we're looking to grow this as well if you have new ideas, but right now this is sort of the data bank of lesson assessments that we have to help you achieve them. So with that said, I want to share a couple of use cases. I went a little too fast there. Let me go back. Of course, you're aware, or you wouldn't be here right now, SESI's data point on students who complete student success courses are more likely to complete other courses, earn better grades, and have higher overall GPAs and obtain degrees. So you are certainly on the right track with going through this process of finding the right curriculum and requiring it of students. Some data you might be interested if you haven't already looked at it, the John Gardner National Survey of Student Success Initiatives for two-year colleges. When they looked at thousands of higher education institutions, they found that only 20% required of all students. So, no matter what, first time coming into college, but 54% require a specific student population. So you can see it's a little bit more common to implement a student success course based on a specific student population, with 28% of those, mostly the most common being developmental education students. So, and I'm not quite sure whether you're looking for a specific student population or requiring of all, but I did want to share with you that we have a significant number of institutions who've implemented based on specific student populations. PPCC, of course, focused on developmental education. That included career and technical students. We've had Umpqua Community College focus on athletes as a population and scholars, as well as adult basic education. We've seen it implemented with high school dual credit with significant results in course completion. And then if you have a TRIO grant, it's also been implemented in a number of institutions through TRIO funding. West Virginia University focused this semester on 500 academic probation students as a rescue course. However, they're flipping the model and feel that if they get ahead and just do it in the first year experience, that perhaps they would have less academic probation students. So next year, they're looking to roll to about 3,500 students within their first year seminar. Edmonds Community College in Washington They have a list called the highest enrollment, lowest completion. And those are very concerning courses, of course, because it's one of their top enrolled, but they're not seeing students completing it. So they did a comparative data study offering Ice House with the course that they were using at the time. With the Ice House students, they had a 100% course completion and a 90% student retention rate, so 90% return the following semester. Significantly, the Ice House students went on to have 13% higher student GPAs within the 3.0 to 4.0 range. This course was their most at-risk students, and they were able to remove the course off their highest enrollment, lowest completion rates by using Ice House. So very significant results. Teresa Allen, who's an Ice House faculty at Edmonds, really got to the heart of the issue, and by saying that if students learn that they have choices to better their life, they're more apt to own their educational process and become active directors of it, rather than a bystander simply meeting course requirements. And that is absolutely what we're trying to get to. We don't want students who typically show up and say, I have to do this, I want to get my degree, I want to get my job, I want to buy my house. We want them fully engaged in why they're there. And a lot of that comes from helping them hone in on what's their vision, where do they want to make a difference, what problem do they want to solve. I've shared probably enough at this point about PPCC, a lot of news articles. If you go to Ice House COS, you can see a number of different reports on PPCC's success with Ice House. A lot of they've kind of become the heart of the community as it relates to entrepreneurship. One data point that I want to share from the PPCC students is that in a course survey at the end of the course, 89% of students reported that they understood how an entrepreneurial mindset could help them succeed in their academic, professional, and personal lives. And that was hugely significant. They easily overcame the definition of entrepreneurship as business creation, and really understood that this was a mindset shift. And I'll share a couple testimonials that kind of reinforces that. Let me check the time here. We have a great video that PPCC made of their faculty and students reflecting on the first year of having Ice House at the institution. I'll include a slide here with a link to it. I may come back and play it, but I think right now I'm going to keep moving along because I definitely want to have time for some questions. The one thing you'll note in that video, interdisciplinary faculty, from the philosophy to the communication to math and English, dev ed. And kind of surprisingly, in the end, we didn't have a lot of business or we had an economics faculty that taught it. But it was a lot of the sort of liberal arts disciplines as well. And this is Dr. Bolton, president of Pikes Peak Community College, who really saw Ice House as a bold new solution. Of course, when we implemented there, we didn't have the data that we have now. We took a chance in our guts. We felt that if we can inspire and engage students in their education, that's kind of the key to persistence. I want to jump into and just give you just a very brief taste of a lesson. And I want to talk about the lesson of choice because when I spoke to Dr. Lambert, he told me that you're focusing heavily on setting, focusing on the student vision and kind of their goals and where they're trying to head. And I think that's an excellent choice for a competency to focus on. Our founder kind of has a plan, a Henry David Thoreau quote here, but I really like it. In order to create the life you imagine, you must first imagine the life you want to create. And it's not often when students show up in college that we give them the time and the space to really think about what is the life you want to create. What do you want to do with your life? What problems do you want to solve? How are you going to make a difference? So in lesson 1, we talk about this pyramid based on vision. And a lot of times we get stuck on that bottom of the pyramid, the daily actions. And we give them all the tools they need, the note-taking, the time management, the money management, all the tools that we think they need, but we don't give them the space to focus on the top part and the why, sort of the Simon Sinek why, if you've seen his TED Talk or read his book. What is their compelling vision? That no matter the personal and life obstacles that get in the way will be so compelling that they're willing to continue and find a way around it and use an entrepreneurial mindset to work around those problems. We know that students don't drop because of their academic potential. The potential is there. The reason that they often drop is because life gets in the way, and personal life impact. And so we really spend some time focusing on their vision and then getting to what's the plan. But we want them inspired by their own compelling vision, one that has a resounding effect on them personally. And then the daily actions are incredibly important. But the fact is, they get to all those tools if they have a compelling vision. All of a sudden, they start to care about what courses they're taking and how they're going to get there and what tools they need and the connections that they need to build while they're in college. We reinforce with storytelling through the Ice House entrepreneurs and Ice House students. This is Brian Scudamore, who is the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I'm sure you're familiar with. It's now has 300 locations throughout Canada, Australia, and the US. It's not always focused on their successful, very wealthy business owners, but it focuses more on the story of how they got there. And Brian Scudamore, he really started with little more than $700 and a few flyers. He didn't have a lot of resources. He didn't have venture capital. He made do with what he had, and he had a compelling vision that drove him. And so he talks about, reaching a point with 1-800-GOT-JUNK in a video clip and having to kind of pause and reflect and say, what is his compelling vision at a certain point in his business? And when he got it down, he inspired all of his employees with that vision. And that's where it really started to significantly grow. He also speaks directly to the students and how that power of vision applies to what they're doing. So again, I'm going to move forward here. But we have, if you want to get a taste of some of the Ice House entrepreneurs and some of their stories, I can provide links for you to visit those. To give you a feel for the lesson assignments that are provided, so there would be probably 8 to 10 different discussion questions that you could include online or use in the classroom. This is a question that reaps a lot of great results from students to really have them thinking about why is creating a vision an important part of an entrepreneurial mindset and student success. And after they've heard and listened to entrepreneurs, having them discussing within the classroom, engaging in the conversation. They would have a reflection assignment on creating their own vision and some tools to kind of help them get there and addressing the potential obstacles that may stand in their way. This is a big part of Ice House. We start at the very beginning with creating a vision. Kind of after lesson 4, there's a midterm reflection on revisiting, how it's moving along. What unforeseen obstacles came up. And then finally, at the end of the course, a personal vision statement that they take with them. To give you an idea of how then an application assignment might apply is after they've created their vision and discussed the importance of vision, they might need to go and make sure that if they're undecided students, or even if they have a major, but go visit an academic advisor and create and walk away with that academic plan, the written plan of classes, what are their career aspirations, preferences, so the advisor can help guide them. And we have a number of different assignments similar to this. I just wanted to give you a feel of how we ultimately do get down to some of those student success competencies. And then I just want to share a few testimonials from Ice House students, how the student Cheryl, her personal vision evolved from lacking confidence and understanding of what she was capable of to courage and determination. And the next line is really significant because we hear this all the time from students. I know that my success in my 3 other courses is a direct result from what I learned in this course. It's really allowed her to realize the value of dedication and perseverance. Corey talks about now having a drive to get his degree and a better idea of where he wants to go when he has it. That he appreciated that the entire class was really focused on changing or shifting his mindset, which kept him in not just this class, but all his other classes as well. And then this student, Natasha, talking about how she's already put into practice, the mindset and that, she really wants to go to school to better her family and finish school for herself, that she's shifted her mindset at work. And so that's, a great impact. We've heard that from employers too, is that, what happened to this person? And they, what is this course? They showed up and they're it really shifted their mindset and seemed, makes a huge difference in the workforce as well. And then her saying that her recommendation is at the end of the year, she wants to make the course work on making it a requirement for every college student, because she became a much stronger person and believes that anyone could benefit from the course. With all that said, really the power of vision is, and having a compelling vision is, to drive hope. And what we know from Gallup is that hope is a better predictor of student success than SAT, ACT, or GPA. And so that's really the power of the program, is by inspiring that hope through a compelling vision. And then finally, before I jump into any questions that you might have, and if there's not questions, then I might be able to go back and play one of those videos. Certainly we'll have time when I'm on site on April 15th to further discuss. But the National Association for Community College Entrepreneurship and the Entrepreneurial Learning Initiative have a significant partnership, which actually we signed the Memorandum of Understanding at when we were in Tampa for Ice House Facilitator training in February. And what we're doing here is we have a campaign together to get to 10,000 mindsets. We have a number of institutions that are already engaged in the Student Success campaign, rolling Ice House Student Success Program out, but partners who are really willing to submit data. And we're using a third party. We have a request for proposal, a third party researcher to kind of gather the data and compile it and benchmark it against multiple institutions in a number of different states. And so that should be a beneficial report going back to you to see how you compare to other institutions. We really care about moving the needle on student success. We have a great deal of early results, like significant results in moving the needle on student success. However, they're kind of apples to oranges data pieces that institutions give us. And so we really are working with NACCE to compile some benchmark data, and are very interested in engaging Hillsborough Community College in this campaign, which would also help you measure your own efforts to ensure that your student success course is successful and does what you want it to do, and gives you the opportunity to learn alongside other institutions and how they've implemented some of their successes and where they're kind of landing on moving the needle. So there is some more information at studentsuccesscampaign.com, but I'm happy to share that in further detail when we meet in person. So I'm just going to take a second here and see if I have any questions. And if I don't right now, I'm going to go back and play the PPCC video. I do not right now, so be thinking of your questions if you have any. And if you don't, you're welcome to follow up by email, or of course I'll be there in person.
Talk with enough people, most people have got something like that. Not necessarily a product that you sell on a store shelf, but at least a thought, an idea, something that helped others around in some way that you knew could be bigger than just you or that particular moment that you had the idea. With the entrepreneurial mindset, it could help it to give it launch. When I see students and they're going, oh, I have to take this class, I said, really? Get ready, get set, get ready to go. Because this is all about you.
I wish I would have had this class in high school, honestly, because it's relevant to everything that you do, everything. Even if you don't, do anything with business, it changes your mindset. And you go from a victim mindset to feeling sorry for yourself, and it gets to this growth mindset. Like I said, everything is brighter. There's clarity that I never had. By taking the time and taking this, because it involves two other people, I think I'm way more prepared. It doesn't seem like it at first, but when you're finished with it, so much more than you ever knew about. It really opens your eyes to
to your community, to what you are able to accomplish. And Ice House is reinventing the way we make ourselves successful. You have to think outside of the box, go that extra step, think about new ways to innovate. And I think that's really going to be the marker of the next few generations. Do not go in there with the mindset of it's starting your own business, it being an entrepreneurship. Take it in as a life skills course.
Before I would focus on all the problems and the negativity, but now it's like, something happens. I'm like, okay, let's see how we can fix this and see what else, can lead to it. And like they talked about, Uncle Cleve talked about, seeing the problems as opportunities and not just something to keep you down. It's something to, get your mind working to, be creative and figure things out that, we all have things that we have to deal with, and, we're capable of doing that.
We had a lot of younger kids in the class who, fresh out of high school, why do I need this class? Why do I need this class? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I was you 10, 11 years ago. Why would I need this class? And I'm sitting here now thinking, gosh, I wish I had this class back then, because the things that I know now, not only the things that I know, but the confidence I have in myself.
I also excited about the class that I actually made my husband read the book. I tell my friends about it. It's just inspiring to know somebody else's story that touched me. And so I like to share it with my friends and family too.
So then I start to see that shift. So some of them see such a shift that they change their majors. Some of them change their attitudes about the class and about school. And some of them start to just change who they are as a person. And if nothing else, they start to change the fact that they can really believe in themselves, that they don't have to depend on somebody else to solve their problems. We now have this Ice House. And Ice House really sets into the individual who they are right at the very beginning. It starts to change the entire game of what the community college actually is. You now have a very focused individual that is going into the university. They know what they want and they know how they're going to get there. And if they run into a problem, you won't have to be so concerned about them dropping out, because they now know how to solve the problem. And so I do see that this is really where it belongs. I didn't imagine that 15 years ago, but boy, is it the time and the place now. This is when it's happening, and this is the time now.
Okay, so I understand that the video may have been a little bit hard to hear or view, but I will provide the link. And that was a video that was created by Pikes Peak Community College in celebration of the significant results that they had. I want to just give you a real quick view, if I can. Let's see. See if I can't get it to show. And then there we go. Okay. Just to give you a feel of what's embedded in Canvas for you, students would open up the Who Owns the Ice House companion text. They'd read some lesson content. Here are the little video clips that play within. And then you can see that there is a wealth of questions, so don't be overwhelmed by that. You would probably create a master shell for your faculty and then maybe hide 5 of these discussion questions, keep 1 active. But it gives faculty the option to choose between. It's also not a prescriptive course. So if you say, you don't want to use any of the discussion questions, you want to create your own, you make it what you want. If you need to add things that aren't within the course, go ahead and add it. It's meant to be flexible to meet your needs. So just wanted you to get a quick visual of what it kind of looks like, and you'll be able to dig into it hopefully by early next week. So with that said, I'm going to open it up real quick to Dr. Andy Gold, and so that he can provide a little bit of, okay, see, I have a few questions here. Let's see. Yes, okay. I'm just going to quick look through the questions because I understand we only have a couple minutes left now. Audio not working. It's working now. And yes, I will be providing the slide deck. So hold on a second here. See if Andy, are you on the line? Can we hear you? I'm not sure if I don't see how to unmute you here. Not sure if that's going to work right now. There's a question here on, other than suggesting that students visit an advisor and select a degree plan, what lessons does Ice House offer to engage students in researching and creating a life plan aligned with their interests and aptitudes? I'd be happy to dig into some of the lesson assignments or direct some to you specifically. But the lesson of when you open up and get into the course shell, if you want to look into lesson 1 in the content, there's a significant amount of lesson content focused on developing that vision and then reinforced by people, entrepreneurs, students who have developed a vision, and so they're learning from how other students or entrepreneurs have developed that Ice House or that vision and life plan. So how it worked from them. So it gets relatable social models and how they did it. And then there are several different lesson assignments. So there's someone, if they're undecided students, there might be more of a career exploration assignment that you want to put them through to get them to sort of the right resources. But happy to specifically direct you within the course content to do that. But if you read lesson 1, which I think would be worthwhile, given that's a heavy emphasis for one of your competencies, and read a lot of the content on developing the why and why the why is important, how daily actions really have no meaning or importance if you don't have the why and the vision. And then underneath that, looking at, in the course shell, looking at some of the assignments focused on developing that vision or career exploration, and getting to the specific goals of developing those goals. So I don't believe I have one more question here. Yes, does Ice House include career resource materials? Indeed, it does. It does. So you can look through that one busy chart that I had with the X's on it. You can kind of see which lessons include specific components like that in career exploration. Personal development is definitely one of them, getting to the career resources. So let's see. I'm going to unmute Andy. Andy, are you there? I have unmuted you, but I don't hear you. I don't think that's going to work for us this time, unfortunately. But I know that Andy and Beth will be with us on April 15th. So Andy has taught Ice House for several years. He was one of our early adopters, and of course, Beth as well. And so they're both very passionate about Ice House. It'd be a great resource for you to reach out to directly if you want to understand the impact that they've seen on students in the classroom. So with that said, I've kept you 2 minutes longer than anticipated, which I never like to do. I like to be on time. So I'm going to end this call or this webinar and say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the presentation. I really hope to see you in person on April 15th, and have a great day and a great weekend. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Thanks so much.